and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here tonight, guys, where quite frankly, I feel quite frustrated right now. I'm sure that a lot of you are feeling the same way, quite angry about the game that we have just seen, and there's a number of different reasons for that, because I would have to say that I think it was quite a balanced game, on the face of it there. I think both teams had their chances throughout it. I think at times Barca were quite unlucky, we took the lead in this one. We weren't able to hold on to that in the right way, but I also think today, some very frustrating refereeing decisions that we're going to have to talk about here. And I also think from Barca, some of the same mistakes that, for instance, we saw against Inter in the Champions League last season, starting to rear their heads again, especially when you look towards the end of this game right here. So we're going to be talking about all of what we had to witness tonight. It's coming up. So let's do it. Because I would have to say, guys, I thought the lineup straight away there from Hansi Flick, it was quite interesting, wasn't it? Looking at that defence right there, I wasn't expecting to see Eric Garcia and Pau Cubarsí as the centre-back duo, but you know what? Maybe we should have done. I mean, we've seen a lot of Eric Garcia this season, and especially at centre-back too. Pau Cubarsí, of course, on the first PSG goal, there were some concerns there. Gerard Martin starting ahead of Balde, which you can understand, of course, given that he's only just returned from injury. The midfield was as we expected, and Robert Lewandowski was on the bench, which was also what we expected in the lead up to this game. And of course, Barca did have a number of injury concerns, the likes of Rafinha and Joan Garcia not able to play tonight. But also, guys, if you look at the PSG team, in the balance of fairness right here, they were also very much depleted in terms of injury problems there. There was big absences there in terms of their attacking players. They were missing a lot of quality in that area. The midfield was just about fit enough to start the game, but PSG did have some problems as the game went on, and in defence there was no Marquinhos. So PSG also not at their strongest tonight, and I think in the end the two teams, had a pretty good go at each other. There was spells of this game whereby Barca were very much on top of PSG, in my opinion. I would say the opening half an hour of this game, we absolutely dominated it. It was really good football. I was feeling very confident, very good about what I was seeing. Barca were getting on the ball, really hurting them, sort of pressing them into mistakes as well. But I think once PSG got into the game again, then Barca started to panic a little bit at the end of that first half. And certainly there, as we went into the second, I think both teams had their opportunities. And as that game went on, maybe PSG ended the stronger of the two. But if you look at the start of the game here, Lamine Yamal, inside of 90 seconds, he's doing Lamine Yamal things. And I think he had a really good start to this game. He was very much involved. He was getting plenty of the ball. He was causing Nuno Mendes all kinds of problems. And we know how good Nuno Mendes is. And he was just beating him at will. It was really fantastic to watch. And we saw Lamine Yamal pick out Ferran Torres with an absolutely beautiful outside of the foot pass there. The trademark Lamine Yamal pass. He whips it round the back of the PSG defence. Ferran with a brilliantly timed run. And I think right here, he does everything right. He takes on the goalkeeper. He takes him out of the equation. He did have Rashford alongside him there looking for that square pass. But realistically, he's just going to go for goal here. And it's a goal line clearance in the end to deny Barca from taking the lead. So we did have quite a few chances there in those opening exchanges, and we did get the first goal. And I have to say, guys, this goal for me was absolutely spectacular. You've got Pedri here who whips the ball out to Marcus Rashford, and I love the vision from Rashford. I really did here. The way that he sees this pass so early to Ferran Torres there. He sees it before anybody else does. He plays a brilliant first-time ball, again, with lots of pace on it into Ferran, and the ball is so good that all Ferran has to do is just direct it. And he does that so well as well. He's stretching for the ball. He redirects it there, going back across the goalkeeper. And it was such a nice move there. It was so good that I actually thought that Ferran was offside. He was also checking the linesman there to see if the flag was up. We had a bit of a VAR check. But no, he timed his run perfectly. It was a great ball from Rashford. Yet another assist from him. And at this point in the game, guys, like I say, things were going well. Barca were looking good. PSG were on the back foot. We were certainly causing them problems there, finding spaces. But there was always that fear that it was going to be an open game. PSG were always going to have their moments, and we weren't quite able to contain them when that happened. Because yeah, quite honestly, I would say that Nuno Mendes had a lot of big moments in this game, and this is for a number of different reasons. Let's start with his attacking quality. He is a left back there who really plays, so much further forward. Same there for Hakimi. Both of those on either side, and that's what really reminded me today of Inter. The way that we did allow a lot of space in those areas. We allowed them to really advance forward. One of the moments there, it took Frenkie de Jong basically taking one for the team. He just took Nuno Mendes down, he stopped the momentum and stopped the play. But on the PSG goal, nobody did that. Nuno Mendes there was allowed to pick up the ball, really gather pace. You know what he's like when he gets into full stride, and nobody could go near him. Nobody would touch him there to stop that move. And Nuno Mendes, in the end, he just supplies Mayulu. It's a nice ball into him there, but realistically, Pau's got to cut that out. That is a massive, massive moment there, whereby he's pretty much there, but he's stretching for it. He sort of slips in the end. He can't quite get the interception. It makes its way through, and what you've got to say is, it's a brilliant finish from this young player here. Only 19 years old, but it was a really, really calm finish in a big moment in the game. And unfortunately for us, that really hurt us. We did not respond well to that goal, in my opinion. I don't think Barca here reacted well to it at all, because once PSG got back in that game, before half-time then, we were very much rocked, and you saw big chances throughout the first half there for Barca. I think he had too much time, too much space inside of our box, but luckily for us, he did not have the composure there. He wasn't able to have those calm finishes that we saw elsewhere, so Barca rode their luck a bit at times, but then into the second half, like I say, it wasn't about, domination from one team or the other. I thought both teams had their moments in the game, but the one thing we have to massively question here tonight, guys, how was Nuno Mendes allowed to stay on the pitch? And it is a game-defining moment, because right here, it's a great cross-field ball, first of all, by Marcus Rashford into the path of Yamal. PSG are really vulnerable at this point. You've got Yamal up against Mendes, 1 versus 1. He's in massive trouble, and he knows it, by the way. He knows right here, this is a possible goal-scoring opportunity for Barca, because Yamal cuts in. It's a clear foul. It is absolutely obvious, and in my opinion, it's a cynical one. It's right on the edge of the box. Yamal here is cutting in. We know that he can shoot from this range. We know that he could really, really work the goalkeeper. Nuno Mendes' foul stops that happening. So how is that not a second yellow? In my opinion right there, Michael Oliver, he has made a massive, massive error. That is a clear, stonewall yellow card every day of the week. I don't even think PSG fans could deny that right here, guys. And Nuno Mendes, in my opinion, should definitely have been sent off. And I just think right here, Barca against 10 of PSG, obviously, it's a whole different game. There was plenty of time to go at that point. And what makes it even more extraordinary, a few minutes after that, it was a little bit of time as it went on towards the end of the game. Marc Asado came on. Michael Oliver booked him for nothing. I mean, literally nothing there. He was producing yellow cards here for players, barely any contact, barely any fouls, but when it came to that Nuno Mendes one, he was not brave enough to stand up and give the obvious red card. That hurt Barca, and that did. You can't deny it. It changed the game. However, we do also have to say right here, it could have also been very different had Dani Olmo converted this chance right here. And again, it's a similar one to Ferran Torres, whereby he doesn't do a massive amount wrong. It falls to him in an absolutely beautiful area. He's making a great late run, arriving into the box there. The goal is at his mercy, and you just expect the net to ripple. You expect in that moment for Barca to take the lead. Olmo strikes, and Hakimi comes out of nowhere there. It's an incredible block. He throws his body in front of the ball there, the PSG captain. And I just can't believe it. There were several moments in there tonight where you just thought, okay, we've got it. This is going to be our moment. This is the goal. It was frustrating. It was really, really difficult to watch some of these moments just slip through our fingertips. And that is why, as we entered the final stages of this game, it started to feel like one that got away. It started to feel like, okay, Barca had a few moments there in front of goal. We also had one of those very dubious refereeing calls there. It could have gone our way on any given day, but it didn't. And then PSG started to gather some momentum. I think Barca made changes there. Barca was certainly tiring, no Pedri on the field. I think that was certainly impactful. It always is for Barca when he's not out there, but I think he struggled physically at times tonight. Unfortunately, I hope that he's going to be all okay. Kang In Lee came on for PSG. Good sub off the bench there. He comes on, cuts inside and hits the post. And already then, the warning signs are there. The alarm bells are ringing. And what was interesting from Barca is that, again, there was no reaction to that, though. It wasn't as though, okay, PSG are finding space here, they're finding space there, we're in the final moments of the game. Because, again, you think back to Inter, how it all unfolded in the Champions League, how we got knocked out by them in the final minutes there, conceding goals. This time around, though, there's still no game management. You've got to look around and think, okay, PSG are finding big pockets here. You look at the winning goal for PSG. How is Hakimi allowed that much space? We are giving him acres of room on the right-hand side. A player here who's got explosive pace. And look at the amount of room. Look how high we are here to just allow him to make that run in the final moments of the game. Just see it out. Get the point. We're happy to take it away. A point against PSG in this Champions League phase. It's not a problem. We will take that here with some of the injuries that we have, the way the game went. But no, we allow Hakimi that room. He's got so much time then to just whip a ball in behind Goncalo Ramos. He's making the run down the middle. Again, so much space to move into. The line is unbelievably high. And he slots it past Szczesny. And again, there's not a great deal that he could do about that. It's another really good, really clinical finish from PSG, but unfortunately for Barca, this is the risk that you take, in the final moments of games when things are they're far too open. I just think with the way the game went, the way that so many things are just not really going our way, I just don't know why we set up like that there in the final moments, given what has happened to us before in this competition, given what's happened to us against very good teams with especially good wing-backs who can hurt you. It was worrying. I've got to say that, guys. We have to start learning from these mistakes. We have to start learning from these errors here. But I would just say again, and I would just keep repeating it here, this still could have been a different game. If Nuno Mendes is rightly sent off, this is a whole different kettle of fish. But look, that's the way the cookie crumbles. With Barca in the Champions League, in Uefa competitions, in La Liga, we're kind of used to these kinds of refereeing decisions not really going our way. It's not something that's new to us here. But yeah, for me, it's a frustrating night. It's a frustrating game here because we were in it. I think we played well in moments, in periods of this match. But in the end, we come away with nothing. And I would like to know in the comments down below today, guys, what is your immediate feeling here about the way that we played, about individual performances, who impressed you, who did not, and what needs to be learned? What is something that you go away from tonight thinking, okay, that's what we need to do. That's what we need to address if we're going to go further in the Champions League than we did last season, guys. We've got to be learning. That is what all of the best teams do. They evolve. They definitely learn from their mistakes. So please let me know in the comments down below how you're feeling right now. Tough one to take tonight, but we will be back, and there will be more coming up on the channel for you soon. Thank you indeed here for watching, and for all of your support, though. I will see you next time. But until next time, as always, Veshka. Hail Barca!